What does a professional virgin carry on a day-to-day basis? A little while ago, I hated the concept of EDC, or otherwise known as everyday carry. Why should I care what you have in your pockets? Then, of course, I started carrying some bits and bobs and realized how infinitely helpful they were to my life. So today, what I thought I'd do is that I'd share with you guys non-negotiables. Things that I have on my person, especially going on trips, as I did this year, going from the West Coast in California all the way to Miami in an RV. I needed things to be in my pocket to help me out. And in my various trips to England, these are little things that essentially make my trip a lot easier. First things first is a pocket knife. I always want to have some sort of knife-like device in my pocket. This right here is a little Spyderco I got recently. It has a couple zip ties in there. If you put them in your pocket and you pull out the knife, the zip ties adhere to your pocket and open it up. So you don't even have to worry about opening it. Just removing it from your pocket opens the blade. Now, of course, that could be useful in a pinch. That could also be detrimental to your health. I don't know if you could see the vagina slits on my thumb. That was because the knife opened in my pocket and I reached in thinking I was grabbing keys. This is the other one. It's a SOG mini power pint. It's phenomenal. It has a bunch of tools in it, a knife, a scissor. It has some bottle openers. It has a can opener. It has some little saw blades. It's very, very useful. And look at how small it is. I enjoy this because I always like to have something in case my motorcycle breaks down and your boy has to go in there, dig deep and fix it. Same thing with a knife. Lord knows how many times you have to cut through Amazon boxes. You have to maybe save a dog from getting caught up in the elevator. And having a knife is infinitely useful, even though it does leave you sometimes bleeding all over a tattoo parlor. Now, unfortunately, I went to England this year, which is a nightmare if you want to carry fun stuff on you because they don't know what freedom looks like. So this is what I carried in place of a knife. Now this is a little Victorinox. I believe this is their jet setter version. It doesn't have a knife. So the TSA supposedly can't take this. However, I've heard that that's subject to the mood of the agent that you get, which is absolute AIDS, because if you're traveling, you should have a uniform system. It shouldn't be up to whether or not the guy had diarrhea that morning. But alas, this has a multi-purpose device here that you could pull out. It has a screwdriver. This is a little bottle opener. You could also use this to scrape and pry things. It also has a useful set of scissors that are actually quite robust for their size, which is what I've been told about my penis. So you could travel with this, and attached to it is something that is a fun little thing from a company called Gear Spool. This is called a Mighty Bar, and it's just a little thing that you could use to scrape things off, to cut packages, because oftentimes you find yourself using your keys to scrape things and open boxes, and then you break them and you're fucked. This essentially saves you from all that, and again, TSA friendly, so you could travel with it. Now, I myself happen to be a gross, disgusting professional virgin magician, so one thing that I like is hygiene, because it makes me seem like I don't do magic tricks for a living. And this little owl actually is a nail clipper. So when you open it, you have a nail file and even a little thing that you could scrape your nails on. You could see it right there. You could rub your little nail on after you cut them. So this is infinitely useful if you don't want to look like you are a loser virgin. Speaking of which, this is another thing that I love and I have on me at all times, no matter where I am, which is a little bottle of cologne. Again, for the sole reason that I don't want to smell like a magician. So you just get your big bottle of cologne. In this case, this is some Al-Qaeda Al-Fursan. Us Arabs know how to do two things. One is to conduct terrorist attacks, and the other one is to make fantastic cologne. So you just spray this in here, and now you could carry, I would say, up to 50 sprays on your person at all times. So if you're at the club,
so go back to the club,
you could just freshen yourself up and smell better than 90% of the men around you. Now, I would say a flashlight is another thing that you would find infinitely useful in most situations. This one is an Olight Warrior. I received this as a gift from James Keatley, who's a mad genius himself. He gave me one of these, I believe, for helping him do a little project in England. And this is it's a little beast. I don't know the actual lumens in this, but I know that when you turn it on maximum mode, it essentially turns into the sun. And it even has a little pussy version that you could use if you don't necessarily want to blind you or your significant others, which for me are random men I find on Grindr. One thing that he was telling me, funnily enough, because England doesn't know freedom, you can't carry a knife on you. So what do? You blind them with the torch mode on this, and then you hit them because there's ridges here. So you could pop him in the eyeball and run away. So for self-defense, this is actually quite useful. And you don't know how many times you wish you had a flashlight that's a little bit better than the one on your phone for you to be able to find things you've dropped or maybe underneath the couch. And this is small enough that you could carry on your person. I personally recommend carrying it in your underwear so it looks like you have a nice little bit of a dinky. Now, speaking of self-defense, because I live in Florida, which apparently is going to allow open carry in September 25th of the year of 2025, I carry this on me at all times. It's a Springfield Arms Hellcat. This is on a sticky holster, meaning it's not going to be rough on you. You put this in there, and when you pull it out, the gun comes out, the holster stays in your pants. And I never leave home without it. It is a toilet plunger. You never want to use a toilet plunger because that means that you've destroyed your toilet. You filled it up with so much fecal matter that now you have to have a device that pushes air to allow it to go through the pipes. Same thing with this. You never want to use it. You never want to have to take it out. But in the case where you have to and you have to put in some work, it's good to have on you. Now, do I recommend this particular iteration? No, I would say against it. The Hellcat has quite a little bit of a kick, especially compared to other ones that I've shot. But it's still a nice one. It's strong. It's good. It has a little bit of a sight on top, so you're going to be relatively accurate. And of course, inside I have these little fun things because the last thing you want is collateral damage. Now, I happen to love watches. This year, I happen to have worn quite a bit, including this one that I'll get into in a little bit. However, the ones that I found myself wearing the most was a moon swatch. In this case, this is the Snoopy edition, as well as this, which is a fake Omega that I've put the word fake on. Now, I wore 2 watches in my time in England, as well as traveling throughout the United States, because I could keep track of one time zone and another time zone, and then be all happy-dappy. And that's because I'm too cheap for a GMT watch. However, here's a little life hack. In this case, I'm going to use my Seiko 5, which is a nice little present that I got from somebody that I stuck my penis in. And what this allowed me to do is to keep track of 2 time zones. Because if you notice, this is a 12-hour bezel that actually moves. So let's say I'm going to England, which is 5 hours ahead. I just moved this 5 places. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now the hour hand is aimed at the time in England. But now I know that because this hour hand is aimed between 7 and 8, that it's 7:30 in England. And this works for any time, and it's a nice little way of avoiding paying high fees for a GMT watch. All, of course, using the bezel. Now, you can't do this with a regular Seiko. I personally modified this one, adding this bezel, which is a 12-hour one. Usually, they come with a 60-second timer, which is for diving purposes, but you could replace the bezels fairly easily. Now, I, of course, chose to put this on a 007 band, which is the original one, I believe, from Dr. No. And because I'm a loser virgin, I even got the smaller version because if you realize in the movie, he has a smaller band, which is the same thing that I did. I got a smaller band, so you could tell it doesn't fit all the way around this watch. Ordinarily, I wear this with a knockoff Rolex from that year. I got a watch that looks the same. I actually ordered one from a company called Relax, which is coming in a couple weeks. And the one that I got is essentially one that mimics the one from Dr. No perfectly. Now, I always have some form of nicotine on my person. I'm a huge fan for its properties in terms of focus and alertness. And my brand for this past year has been Alp. Say what you will about Tucker Carlson. The only thing that I have to say against these is that they're assembled in India. And for a product like this that I would say is very America forward, it's kind of lame that they're manufactured in India. But regardless, the flavors are unbelievable. And they also have this little thing, which is coffee. It's coffee, it's caffeine. So it's in a similar vein as a nicotine pouch. You put it on your upper deck or lower deck and it releases nicotine into your body. This does the same with caffeine. And of course, when you're dealing with people like Peter Turner for 2.5 weeks in a cramped RV, nicotine definitely takes the edge off. Now, I, of course, carry that nicotine in a metal container. This one is one that I earned from Zinn. It's produced by a company called Icebox. And you could have a bunch of pouches in there. Unfortunately, because I have so many, they stick to the top. But it's a nice way of protecting these. I actually ordered a metal one from Alp because I don't have Zinns in here. I was so proud of myself to get this holder from Zinn by using a bunch of points. However, I realized Zinn doesn't really taste that good. So on top, I have Alps, and in the bottom, I have a company called Lucy that makes breakers, which is also top tier if you're a nicotine fan like myself. Now, of course, a wallet is something that every person has to carry. This one in particular is by Kate Spade. It's the Year of the Pig wallet. They don't make these anymore. And this one is beat to shit, which is quite unfortunate. Inside, I have a little pen, which is a pen by a company called Narwhal. Because the thing that I hate the most is being caught in a situation where you need to sign something, maybe a check, and nobody has a pen. So this fits in your wallet. It's nice, it's slim, and for some reason, bitches love pigs. Now, this is another thing that I find myself carrying on a daily basis, which is a handkerchief. Handkerchief doesn't matter. This is for sweat It's from a company called Dry Ski. I think it's wonderful. Every man should have a handkerchief on their person. Lord knows how many times you need to clean your glasses or maybe the lens on your disgusting camera. And this comes infinitely useful for that. Maybe you cut yourself in a tattoo parlor. I just got this one done. You see the work on that baby? It says temporary tattoo and it's all flaked. It's all frayed. It looks like a temporary tattoo. I also got this one that says Japanese tattoo in Japanese. So if you happen to find yourself bleeding all over the place, this is a great thing to use because you could wrap it around until you get to your local Walgreens and then get sufficient first aid from there. Now, keys are the bane of everyone's existence. Why? Because you put them in your pocket and they jiggle. They're annoying. They poke into you. This solves that perfectly. This is actually a little doohickey I bought from Amazon. I forgot the actual company name, but I put 2 Chicago screws, and that allows me to tighten my keys almost like a key smart. And this has a bottle opener, a scraper, and of course, this is also infinitely useful because how many times do you find yourself forgetting your keys? Well, here's a life hack. Put something fluorescent. Put something that's going to catch your attention. So at a glance, you could look at your table and go, oh, look, there are the keys. I actually do that with my penis. And of course, the last thing you can't see because it's my phone, the iPhone 16 Pro. I think the camera is comparable to most cameras that you'd be able to use on a consumer basis. It's unbelievable the leaps that we've gotten in videography, and in this case, I just use this. It's a lot easier to set up than a DSLR. I don't have to worry about carrying external lenses apart from one that fits in the inside of my gooch, and you're ready to go. You could film anything in high quality 4K 60 FPS. Although I realized that I shot this entire thing with this right here that didn't make it look better. It actually made it look a lot darker than it should have been. Alas, for the final portion of this video, at least you'll get somewhat decent quality. But that's about it. What are things that you carry on your person? Let's trick YouTube into thinking that this channel actually has engagement. Because Lord knows the man's trying to hold me down. But I guess the last thing I could leave you on before I end this video is a little bit of advice. A little bit of advice. I always like to give advice at the end of the videos to give you some value. My advice is to always return your cart at the supermarket. Be better. Be a human being. You're going to leave it next to you and now a car can't park because you decided to save 10 seconds. If I was president, I'd have you guys shot.